All right, let's dive into a pretty radical evolution in cybersecurity. We're going to move way beyond the idea of just building bigger walls and stronger locks. We're stepping into an era where we can literally build immunity to cyber attacks before they're even invented.
So, that question sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But it's the actual core principle behind a new defense system called AegisNet. The whole point isn't just to react faster to threats. No, the goal is to make them impossible from the get-go.
To really get just how big of a deal this new approach is, let's take a quick step back. Let's talk about the world of traditional cybersecurity we're all familiar with. Just think of it as a world of digital burglars, and all the alarms we set up to try and catch them.
And, analyst Velma Hawthorne just nailed it with this quote. The big Bucharest incident back in 2017, it wasn't some elegant, sophisticated hack. It was basically a digital break-in. The attackers used a compromised router like a crowbar. It was noisy, it was crude, and it left a super obvious trail. They were, just as she says, burglars.
This table, wow, it really lays out the massive leap we're talking about.
Over on the left, you've got the old school stuff from Bucharest. Simple, scripted, easy to spot. But on the right, that's the forecast for 2026. We're talking about attacks that think for themselves, that evolve on the fly, and steal data using methods that are quite literally invisible. So yeah, we're not dealing with a better burglar anymore. We're dealing with a ghost in the machine.
Okay, this is where things get really, really interesting. We've moved way beyond simple software bugs. The source material calls these new threats reality hackers, and for a wild reason. They don't just target your code, they target the actual physics of your hardware. Let's break down a couple of examples of what that even means.
So, this first threat is incredibly clever. It's an attack that learns to wear your own digital behavior like a camouflage suit, which makes it almost impossible for any traditional system to pick up on.
They call this neural-jitter exfiltration. It uses a specific kind of AI to study your unique digital rhythm. How you type, how you click, the little pauses you make. Then, it hides stolen data by making the data flow out with that exact same rhythm. So it's not some sudden, obvious data breach. It's this slow, steady leak that looks exactly like you.
And, if hiding inside your own habits wasn't crazy enough, this second forecasted threat is even more mind-bending. This one doesn't target your software or your behavior. It targets the light inside your hardware. And this is the perfect example of that reality hacker idea. See, as data travels through fiber optic cables at insane speeds, the cables actually emit these microscopic, almost imperceptible patterns of light. An attacker with a powerful enough sensor, maybe even a compromised camera in the same room, could literally watch those light leaks and mathematically rebuild your most secret keys, all from a distance.
So how in the world do you defend against threats that are this sophisticated? Well, this is where AegisNet completely flips the script. Instead of waiting for these attacks to happen, it's designed to invent them first, and then create the cure.
It's a really cool three-step cycle. First, a predictive AI they call Project Eos dreams up a potential future threat, like the ones we just talked about. Then, the AegisNet system, which is described as a swarm, actually develops a custom defense for it, a vaccine. And finally, that vaccine gets rolled out across the entire network, immunizing it before the real attack ever has a chance to show up. And you gotta see this, the defenses are just as sophisticated as the attacks. To stop that neural jitter, the system injects tiny, random micro-delays into your network traffic. That's the quantum tessellated entropy part. It completely scrambles your unique digital fingerprint so an AI can't copy you. And to stop the photonic leaks, it injects random light noise into the fiber optic cables. That's the active noise luminescence, which basically blinds any sensor trying to read those light patterns. And look, this isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. The source material says 1.6 million nodes all over the world have already been immunized with these predictive vaccines. This is a real defense system operating on a massive scale right now, protecting everything from critical infrastructure to financial networks.
So you're probably thinking, okay, protecting 1.6 million nodes like that must slow everything down, right? Well, get this. The performance impact is less than 0.2 milliseconds of added latency. It's an unbelievably powerful defense with a footprint that's pretty much non-existent. That's just a remarkable level of efficiency.
But this is about more than just cool tech. It's really a whole new philosophy of security. It's about moving from constantly being on the defense to a proactive state of what they call guaranteed digital sovereignty, where your data and your identity are just inherently protected. The creators laid out their vision in a manifesto. First,
It's about ending the old idea of a firewall and replacing it with an adaptive mesh that protects from the inside out. Second, it's that core principle of proactive immunity with the incredible motto, "Dream the attack so the world doesn't have to live it." Third, they're pushing for a new zero-knowledge standard for identity, where you can prove who you are without actually revealing any personal data. And finally, they argue that network autonomy, a network that protects you automatically, is a fundamental right.
And the whole thing ends with this powerful, kind of cryptic statement: the nexus is eternal. QED. It suggests a system that isn't just secure, but is self-sustaining, permanent, and mathematically proven. It really leaves us with a provocative thought. What does it really mean for our digital world when the defense is no longer a response to a threat, but a fundamental, eternal law of the network itself?